Uzi was a very beautiful girl in her mid-20s with skin that glowed like polished ebony and eyes that sparkled with life. But the most striking thing about her was her hair, full, long and all natural. Uzi never attached extensions or weaves to her hair. She loved her hair just the way it was, thick and healthy. She believed her hair was good enough and there was no need to add anything artificial to it. But despite her beauty and confidence, life had not been easy for Uzi. It had been 3 years since she graduated from the university, but she hadn't gotten any job despite all her applications. To earn a living, she ventured into sewing, using her creativity and skill to earn a livelihood while still applying for jobs and hoping on God for something better. One day, as she was in her bedroom working on a new dress, her phone buzzed. She picked it up and saw an SMS notification. Her heart skipped a beat as she opened the message. It was a notification that she had been shortlisted for an interview at Rock Media. Excitement flooded her and she let out a joyful scream. This was the opportunity she had been praying for. Rock Media was one of the biggest media houses in the city, and landing a job there will change her life forever. On Monday morning, Uzi woke up early and prepared carefully for the interview. She dressed beautifully in a vibrant Ankara gown. The colors bold and the patterns intricate, reflecting her inner strength and heritage. The gown had a matching scarf, which she wrapped carefully around her head. Rock Media was an imposing structure made of glass and steel, a symbol of modern success and prestige. Inside, the reception area was a bustling hub of activity, with people dressed in sharp corporate attire moving with purpose. Uzi felt a wave of unease wash over her as she walked through the glass doors. Her colorful Ankara gown stood out starkly against the sea of grey and black suits. She could feel the eyes of other candidates on her, their glances a mix of curiosity and judgment. They were all dressed in the typical corporate uniform. Uzi's vibrant outfits, though beautiful, made her feel out of place. Had she made a mistake by dressing this way? Would they judge her for not adhering to the unwritten dress code? Doubt gnawed at her, and she could feel her confidence slipping away. Minutes felt like hours as Uzi waited for her turn. Finally, her name was called. Uzi stood up and followed the receptionist to the interview room. During the interview, Uzi spoke with confidence, but looking at the interviewers, their expressions were hard to read. Uzi couldn't shake the feeling that they were judging her, not just for her qualifications, but for how she looked. But then, as the interview was drawing to a close, Mr. Coco, one of the interviewers, leaned forward, his eyes narrowing as he studied Uzi closely. Miss Uzi Ademola, you have clearly impressed us with your qualifications and your responses. But I have to ask, why are you dressed like this for an interview on a Monday morning? Uzi felt a jolt of anxiety but responded, Mr. Coco, I believe in expressing my culture and individuality. Uzi responded, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. The room fell silent as Mrs. Wallen, another interviewer, chipped in. Ms. Ademola, we appreciate your commitment to your culture. However, we also value professionalism and the image our employees project. Would you mind removing your scarf for a moment? Uzi's heart skipped a beat. With trembling hands, she reached up and slowly unwound the scarf from her head, revealing her full, beautiful hair. Uzi could see the shift in their expressions, the surprise, the confusion, and then the silence. Mr. Coco cleared his throat, breaking the tension. Miss Ademola, you have passed the interview with flying colors, he said, his tone now more guarded. But I am afraid we cannot offer you the position at this time. Uzi's voice shook as she asked, Is it because of my hair? Mrs. Wallen hesitated for a moment before responding. We are a media company, Miss Ademola. Appearance is part of the brand we project to the world. Unfortunately, your current appearance doesn't align with the image we strive to maintain. The words hit Uzi like a physical blow. She had given them her best, shown them her qualifications, her passion, her potential, and it all came down to something as superficial as her hair. As Uzi stepped out of the interview room, she forced a smile onto her face. Even though her heart was heavy with disappointment, she couldn't let the other candidates see her pain, especially as they glanced at her with curiosity. Uzi held her head high and walked past them, her mind swirling with thoughts of what she could have done differently. Determined not to give up, Uzi waited in the lobby until she could speak to Mrs. Wollan again. After what felt like an eternity, the interviewers emerged from the room. Uzi spotted Mrs. Wollan and quickly rushed over to her. "Mrs. Wollan, please," Uzi pleaded, her voice trembling with desperation. "I will do anything to work for this company. I have waited so long for this opportunity. Please, just give me a chance." Mrs. Wollan looked up at her, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "You will do anything, right?" she asked, her voice calm but curious. Uzi nodded quickly. Mrs. Wollan studied her for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Get a wig and cover up this bush you have on your head," she said, her voice cool but direct, as she reached into her bag and handed Uzi an envelope. "Here is your employment letter," Mrs. Wollan said. "You will resume on Monday, but let me be clear. Come in with a classy hairdo or your employment will be terminated immediately." Uzi's hands trembled as she collected the letter, the weight of the decision sinking in. "Thank you," she whispered. Mrs. Wollan gave her a final glance and walked away. Back at home, Uzi sat on her bed, feeling conflicted as she searched online for hair vendors. Her pride in her natural hair made this decision painful. She didn't want to ask her friends for recommendations after all the times she had told them her hair was good enough. She scrolled through countless websites until one caught her eye. The Velvet Strands, luxury hair for the classy woman. The website looked professional and the reviews were excellent. Plus, they offered free installation at their Lagos salon. Uzi quickly booked an appointment for the next day, determined to do whatever it took to fit in. The following morning, when Uzi arrived at the salon, she was taken aback by its grandeur. The exterior was sleek, with large glass windows that reflected the bright sunlight. The name, The Velvet Strand, was elegantly etched in gold above the entrance. As she approached, the door opened automatically, making her feel like she was entering a different world. Inside, the salon was even more impressive. The floor was polished marble and the air smelled of expensive hair products. Everyone inside looked perfect, with stylish clothes and flawless hair. Uzi felt a bit out of place in her simple outfit, but tried to push the feeling aside. She walked up to the front desk where a woman with perfect hair greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, miss. How can I help you?" the woman asked. I have an appointment," Uzi stammered, showing her phone. The woman's smile grew wider. "Ah, you must be Uzi. Mrs. Vivian is expecting you. Follow me." As Uzi followed the woman through the salon, she couldn't help but notice that all the clients had glossy, perfect hair. It almost didn't seem real. They reached a more private part of the salon and the woman opened the door, motioning for Uzi to enter. The room was even more elegant, with soft lights, plush chairs and a huge mirror covering one wall. Sitting in one of the chairs was a woman who looked powerful and confident. "Welcome to the Velvet Strands," the woman said with a kind smile. She was beautiful with flawless skin and long shiny hair. "I'm Vivian and I'll be taking care of you today." Uzi smiled nervously. "Thank you. I have never done this before." Vivian's smile remained warm. "Don't worry, you're in good hands. Let's get you started." Uzi sat in a plush chair in front of the large mirror, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Uzi chose a sleek, wavy hair that looked elegant. The hair was soft, smooth, and a deep, rich black that shined under the lights. Uzi watched in awe as the wig was installed perfectly, blending seamlessly with her hairline. "Wow. This is incredible," Uzi whispered, running her hands through the new hair. It felt strange, but looked amazing. Vivian smiled, clearly proud of her work. "I am glad you like it, but there is one more thing." She pulled out a small bottle filled with a dark liquid. "This is a special serum," she said, handing it to Uzi. "Apply it to your hair every night before bed. It will keep the hair soft and shiny. And the best part, it's free, just for you." Uzi took the bottle, her voice filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Vivian." Vivian's smile widened, but there was something in her eyes that Uzi couldn't quite understand.